Hello everyone. I thought long and hard about whether to say my name, but there's no point in hiding it anymore. My name is Aaron. I was 23 when all of this happened. My family had inherited an old house in rural Washington, a place no one had visited for years. My father wanted to sell it. He called me and said, "I want you to go there for 2 days and check it out. Doors, water, electricity waiter needs attention. Make a note of it. Once I wrap things up here, I'll come join you." My cousin Miles came with me. He was 16, curious, smart, but a little too sensitive. "I'm coming too," he said. To be honest, I didn't want to go alone, so I didn't object. As we got closer to the town, our phones lost signal. The road narrowed, the trees grew denser. It felt less like we were leaving the city and more like we were entering somewhere else. Finding the house wasn't difficult. It was a 2-story wooden house with a wide porch. The yard was overgrown, but the structure itself looked solid. Our last name was written on the mailbox. That unsettled me because we'd been told the house belonged to a very distant relative. When we went inside, the house didn't look abandoned. It was dusty, but some details were strange. The fireplace was clean. The curtains were neatly hung. It was as if someone hadn't left the house completely and stepped away for a while. We decided to spend the night in one of the upstairs bedrooms. The bed was neatly made. I noticed it, but didn't dwell on it. I was exhausted from the drive, just as I was about to fall asleep. I heard a sound from downstairs. Water. I went to the kitchen and saw the sink overflowing. The faucet wasn't on, but the basin was filled to the brim, as if someone had deliberately filled it. Inside the sink was a knotted black cord. It was clogging the drain. When I picked it up, it was cold. I threw it in the trash without telling Miles. Toward morning, I woke up to the sound of footsteps moving through the house. When I opened my eyes, I realized Miles wasn't in the room. A bad feeling settled in my stomach. When I went downstairs, I saw that the basement door was slightly open. The night before, I hadn't been able to open that door at all. Now it was ajar. There were bare footprints in the living room. They went a few steps forward and then suddenly stopped at us. If someone had vanished right there at that moment. I heard Miles's voice. It sounded like him, but there was an unnatural calmness in his tone. "Aaron, come downstairs." I was about to head toward the basement when the door was knocked on hard. The bell on the porch shattered the silence of the night. Who could be coming at this hour? I opened the door slightly. A woman in her 50s stood there. She said her name was Doreen. She was holding a small jar containing salt and dried herbs. "You opened this house, didn't you?" she asked. "Yes." "Just for 2 days." Her eyes drifted toward the basement door. Her expression suddenly grew serious. "Who opened that door?" she asked. "I didn't," I said without being invited. She stepped inside quickly and headed straight for the basement door. Without saying a word, Doreen took a pinch of salt from the jar and sprinkled it across the threshold. "Then the house has noticed you," she said. "Before morning comes, don't open any more doors. And whatever you do, don't look into the mirrors." I was stunned. What was this crazy woman talking about? As I tried to make sense of it all, a horrific sound suddenly echoed through the house. When I turned toward where it came from, I saw Ita Longhand, wet and glistening, emerging from the crack of the basement door. Its fingers gripped the edge and pulled the door open a little more. This couldn't be real. I felt like I was losing my mind. Then I heard Miles's voice, again this time coming from inside the wall. "Aaron." Doreen held her breath and whispered, her voice trembling, "That is not Miles." After Doreen spoke her last sentence, the air inside the house changed. It truly changed. It felt as if the walls moved a little closer, the ceiling lowered slightly, and the house grew unnaturally cold. The presence coming from the basement was no longer in a hurry. It was waiting. As Doreen moved toward the door, the hand suddenly disappeared. She carefully and quietly shut the door, turned the lock, and faced me. "Now listen to me carefully," she said. "This house has not been alone for a long time. It is a place claimed by dark entities. I know you are not guilty, but you were the one who opened the door." I asked her where Miles was. She did not answer. She only looked at the basement door. "Before you go down there," she said, "you need to know what you are about to face." We sat down. Doreen began to explain. This house had been built years ago as a storm shelter, but that was not its true purpose. It was chosen because it was far from the town, easy to hide from people. The place we called the basement had later been expanded. The walls were dug out, opened deeper into the ground, and in time it became a ritual site. Something dark, something that should never have been there, was summoned. "Who?" I asked. "They have no names," she said. "To name them is to call them. The person we believed to be a distant relative of my father was not actually the last owner of the house. Over the years, the house had changed hands several times, but the same thing always happened. Some people became wealthy, others disappeared. In the end, everyone connected to what happened in this house died in horrific ways. This house," Doreen said, "belongs to those who always leave the price for later." We heard Miles's voice again. This time, it was not a whisper, but a plea. Doreen did not move. "If you answer now," she said, "you will not be answering him. You will be answering them." She told me we had to wait for the first light of morning. During that time, no one spoke. I did not look into any mirrors. I did not go near the basement. But the house was watching us. I could feel it. When the sun rose, the basement door closed by itself. "Now," Doreen said, "now we can go down." She placed a small pouch in my hand. Inside were salt and dried herbs. "No matter what happens, do not let go of this," she said. We went down into the basement. The stairs were longer than I expected. The walls were damp. The deeper we went, the colder the air became. At the bottom was a narrow corridor. At the end of it, a wide room, and in the center of that room, a large circular symbol drawn on the floor. Miles was there. He was standing, his back to us. He was not moving. "Miles," I said. My voice trembled. He slowly turned around. His eyes were not Miles's eyes. They were not black. They were empty, completely hollow. There was nothing inside them, but his face was still his. Doreen spoke. They did not take him, she said. We arrived just in time. They did not want a price, Doreen continued. They wanted a bond. Someone from the family, someone who came to the house, who opened the door, who was curious. Miles was not the weakest link. He was the most suitable one. You can take him back, she said, but the house will demand something from you. What? I asked. That you close it, she said. Completely. Truly close it. I stepped into the circle. The pouch in my hand grew warm. Miles began to shake. Doreen started speaking loudly. The words were not English. They did not sound like a prayer. They sounded more like a sealing ritual. The walls trembled. The lines of the circle began to fade. Miles dropped to his knees. I lunged forward to catch him. At that moment, a sound rose from everywhere in the house. Not a single voice, many voices, but they all said the same thing. What is left open will be reclaimed. Doreen shouted, now. I emptied the pouch onto the ground. The salt spread across the circle. The lines vanished completely. The air suddenly became heavy, then emptied. Miles collapsed. When I lifted him into my arms, his eyes were closed, but he was breathing. Real breathing. When we left the basement, the house was silent. But this was not the silence from before. This was a finished silence. That day, we left the house. We left the town. We never returned. My father never went back. The house was never sold. It is still there, standing as if it belongs to no one. Miles does not remember what happened, but sometimes, in his sleep, he says the same sentence. I did not open the door, but I know the truth. Some places should never be entered, and if you do enter them, you will always pay a price. Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. If this video affected you, don't forget to support the channel by liking it. For more dark and realistic stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next story.